I want to take just a moment. It's, as I mentioned last week, it's that time of year in which we are making plans for next year. Our church leaders are working on the 2023 budget. And so I want to take just a few moments to think about some of the questions that we ask sometimes about giving. And maybe one of the most basic questions that we ask about giving is it required? Do I have to give? And the answer to that is no, 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 and maybe. Stick with me. One of the things that I would say to you is that if you are a guest in our church and you hear us talk about giving and those things, that never applies to you. This is a conversation that we have with people who determined that this is their church. I would also tell you that your giving or your financial status never has a part in whether you belong or received or welcomed in the life of this church. We would want to see people from every walk of life in this place, every status of financial situation in our church, and received no matter what. I would also tell you that the work of God in your life, the great saving work of God, has never, ever been determined on your giving and your financial situation. So, is giving required? No. In fact, when we would say, is giving required, I would say that one of the things is that we're careful about the words that we use. Because when we talk about our offering, we talk about giving our offering and not taking your offering. Because it's a choice that you make. COVID kind of helped us swap out the plates that we would pass down the aisle to the boxes that we use. And we've stayed with that because I think that helps us communicate that this is an offering that you give, not an offering that we take. I think that's really, really important. In fact, I would tell you that we would want you to give because it's what stirs and moves inside of your heart. Last week we talked about some of the practical parts of giving, but the truth is at the same time as there's practical parts of giving, the biggest part of giving is that it's spiritual. It is what happens between you and God. In fact, I would say we would talk about giving through our church and not giving to our church, that we want you to give back to God. Now, we believe that some kingdom work happens here in this place. But you're not giving to this church. You're giving through this church to accomplish kingdom-giving things. And so we would invite you to give today, not because you have to, not because you're compelled to or you're guilted to or that somebody twisted your arm, but that you give because it is the stirring of your heart and of your life. In fact, when we talk about the word worship, at the very core historically of the word worship is the word worth. We believe that the presence of God in our lives rearranges what is valuable. So we encourage you, if you are part of this church, if you are a person who is following Christ, we encourage you to connect your finances and your faith. We encourage you to connect your faith and every part of your life, and that you would be a person who gives not because you have to, but because it's part of your growing faith.